Hello and welcome. This is Rooflemonger, and my friends, in this video today we're going to be talking about Blue Vegeta, and specifically we're going to be talking about Blue Vegeta's Ki Blast. Yes, he got a lot of buffs, sure, but we're going to be talking about the Ki Blast specifically because I think this gives him a whole new lease on life as a character, whole new game plans, whole new options, whole new everything. I've been taking the calling Blue Vegeta Anime Sagat now. Sagat, if you're not aware, and shame on you if you're not, but Sagat, character from Street Fighter, very famous for just spamming fireballs all over and all over visions of the games he's in. And yeah, Blue Vegeta now, he can kind of do the same thing. And you know what? Hey, Goichi thinks I'm onto something with some of the things I've been talking about. So let's find out what Goichi likes, and let's get into the video. Now, before we go into specific theory talk, setup talk, all that kind of stuff, let's just talk briefly about the changes the Ki Blasts themselves got, because it's significant. So, the Ki Blasts in general, like the ground versions, air versions, all that, in general, have bigger hitboxes, so the projectile themselves, they are larger. You can always cancel into your Big Bang attack after you do the move. So it doesn't matter like if it connects, it doesn't matter if it whiffs, it doesn't matter what happens, you can always go into Big Bang Attack, and also supers if you want, which we'll talk about later on. So it just helps the utility and your general zoning and screen control quite a bit. The down Ki Blast specifically, both on the ground and in the air, man, okay, it does so much more stun now. Like, yo. That was a natural combo. And this wasn't me chaining them together like, you know, the usual Ki Blast. I was linking 4 consecutive separate blasts. So that was a link combo, not just spamming them, right? That's pretty crazy. That is how significant the hit stun is. And of course, it leads to all new combos, all that kind of stuff. Not the least of which, you know, mid-screen lets you combo in the dunks now, which wasn't really possible before Season 3.5. Down Ki Blast in the air also has no float at all. It just keeps whatever your momentum is. So similar to Super Saiyan Goku, or rather Blue Goku's Ki Blast as well. So the regular S, it still holds you in place for a brief moment, but as soon as you do the down S, or if you do SS, which will go in the down S, then you get to keep all your momentum, which is very key for a lot of the stuff we're going to talk about later on in the video. But yeah, so suffice to say, in basically every conceivable metric, his basic Ki Blasts are much better now. Now, that all said, let's get into the meat and potatoes here. So, you know, basic Ki Blasts by themselves, they're generally not considered too much of a threat, right? That's just how this game works. But let me show you why this stuff is now a threat for Blue Vegeta. So now with all this stuff said here, what makes this good? You know, what's layer 1 of all this? Well, 1, it's just annoying as heck. And it covers some really good angles, you know. A lot of people talk about Broly, you know, Broly's Ki Blast being so good. Part of the reason why it's so good is he can control airspace with it, right? That is kind of rare in this game. And, yo, hey, Blue Vegeta can do it just fine. He can control that airspace with the Ki Blast, no problemo. And on top of controlling that airspace, no problem, well, keep in mind, you can cancel into Big Bang Attack whenever you want. And yes, this is a monstrously slow move, right? And normally, people are not going to get caught by it, but there's a couple things about that. Well, 1, yes, obviously, you can super dash these Ki Blasts, right? So I can go crazy spamming all day long. Yo, you can do this, not a big problem. Except for the fact of this. Can't really super dash the Big Bang Attack. This is all one giant wall of true projectile. So just as heavy as like any beam, right? So there's no super dashing that. So if I just want to harass all day long, just toss Ki Blast, and you were so inclined after I'm tossing enough Ki Blast, like, okay, I'm done with this garbage, let's super dash through it, all that, well then, you might find yourself in that position and getting your head kind of caved in by the Big Bang Attack. So it's very strong in that regard now. The natural counter to harassing with Ki Blast is to super dash, and now that option is way less attractive. One of the ways traditionally around Big Bang Attack is you want to be above it and then super dash your way on in. So during the initial charge phase here, after it's shot, it can only really ever go downwards or straight across. It cannot go up. So you're going to be above it, avoid it, and smack the enemy down, right? So that's why like this kind of offense can be risky in and of itself, right? Because if they're above you and you commit to it, they can absolutely punish you. But thanks to the great angles we have with the down key blast, both on the ground and in the air, it helps out because of this, core game mechanic. When you block stuff in the air, you fall to the ground. So if I were to catch you with, a down key blast and you block it, sure, whatever, you then are going to start falling to the ground. And yes, you can cancel any block stun of a basic key blast into a super dash as well, right? But unless you have the reactions of a god, you're still going to be falling a couple frames before you get it off. And by that point, you're going to be level with the Big Bang attack. It's just going to be too late, right? So there's a lot of ways to get you to commit to interacting with the Big Bang attack. Now, maybe not necessarily a combo, although we'll talk about that in a second because it does. At that point, you basically got to commit to, okay, am I going to block or am I going to reflect or whatever, right? So his space control, his neutral, the ability to just put garbage out on the screen is at an all-time high in a way a lot of characters cannot do in this game, thanks to this. And considering the angles he can control now as well, you kind of gotta just deal with a little bit of it, right? So the best thing I could say is get used to reflecting the Big Bang attacks at the very least. If you're stuck in the crosshairs, at least you'll get a little bit of meter that way. Now, let's talk about damage and reward, right? Your old basic key blast, one of the building blocks of this game. Let's tag in old classic Super Saiyan Goku, and let's just go through a basic example of what most characters normally get if they successfully get their key blasts off. So classic example here, just a little north of 3,000. Yeah, I know there's a couple fancier versions, but that's the basic one, right? Little north of 3,000 damage for a vanish off a key blast. That's respectable. That's about what you expect, right? And you spent 2 bars to get it. Not bad, 30%. Let's try Blue Vegeta now for the same amount of effort involved. So 5,000. Same core idea. Just basic key blast and the confirm, right? Same core idea, same amount of meter spent. And Blue Vegeta can now get like 5,000, where other characters get 3,000-ish, right? 5,000 is half your life. So to lose half your life off a full screen basic key blast, that is new territory for this game, right? It helps these things here. The held Niagara Pummel launches people, and Gallic Gun does not subject itself to double super scaling like other supers. So if you're to do both supers, this will do the normal damage it normally should, right? He's one of the very few characters that was able to do anything like this. And honestly, until this patch, it didn't matter. It wasn't a concern. It was just a neat fact more than anything of any consequence. And now, it's a big deal. It actually matters. Now, let's talk one of the big aspects of this, which is hit confirming. Like being able to visually assess, okay, I got the hit, and I can go into it. Because you definitely don't want to be burning this bar on a maybe, right? You definitely want to have a sure deal. And it's very easy, honestly, especially on the ground. So the ground version, just SS, right? So SS, then we just go into Big Bang attack. Now, full screen, this is very viable in my opinion due to this fact. One, hey, this control space on the ground is fine. And the other S has a good airborne angle, so unless they're like really high up, super jump floating, at which point you shouldn't be tossing these buttons out anyways. But yeah, so it catches a lot of real estate, right? And then, since you can cancel in the Big Bang attack, why not, right? Just go for it. And keep in mind what we talked about earlier. If, say, they weren't on the ground and they were in the air, that down S will rip them down to the ground, at which point maybe it doesn't combo, although it might, depending on the angle. But at the very least, it'll force them to deal with it and interact with it in some way. But yeah, so at that point, it's just literally SS, Big Bang, and then, oh, well, that's pretty easy to see. Like, well before the Big Bang attack hits, I can tell this is going to connect, and at which point, okay, well, since it's going to connect, go in Niagara Pummel, we're going to combo out from there. So that's the easier version of this, right? So what about, a little fancier versions like this? Is this hit confirmable as well? And yeah, it totally 100% is. So when you're tossing this, the idea here is you want the first hit to knock them up basically into the second hit. And at that which point, okay, I saw a hit, Niagara Pummel, combo out, right? And you might think, well, this might be a little rough to visually assess, you know, the hit confirm, but it's very doable. Now, I'm not going to say it's like all the way easy and it's free and guaranteed, but let's just show you an example here. Okay, so I have the enemy now set to random block, so I do not know if they're going to block or not, right? And as you see here at the bottom, I got delay set to 4 frames, so this would be a fairly laggy match, right? 4 frames, ain't nobody like a 4-frame match online. Now, can I visually assess in 4 frames of delay this concept here and do it? Yep. I can. Got it. It's good. So, block that time, didn't do it, right? And so on and so forth. Like, and I know in the heat of the moment it's a little harder, but it's a very doable concept, right? Even in lag. The biggest thing, and the thing that's going to hurt you the most, is not even so much the hit confirm, it's the angles. You're going to have to learn like what angles are good, because you can toss the first key blast in such a way that the second one like won't connect, as you can see there. So you really got to watch out just your angles. That is the biggest killer. You got to make sure you're tossing it from an angle, and you have to practice around to see for yourself just which places are safe to toss it from against a grounded foe. So in the end, I guess what I'm trying to show you is, yo, these are really, really, really good moves now. And of course, you got other buffs too. This is like just the Ki Blast. I'm not even talking about the other stuff, right? But I find the Ki Blast so significant in the changes and just how useful it is, because it gives him a whole game plan he never, ever, ever had before, right? He's now a threat from range. This is not something I would say, you know, before full screen Big Bang attacks, like, maybe they were a little annoying if you couldn't get the right angle to super dash through and you had to deal with it, but like, it was not a game plan, right? Like, this is not how you won games. And now, all of a sudden, boom, that could be 50%, right? Especially if you got a lot of bar to dump, right? If you got your buddies backed up, if you got like 4 or 5 bars or something, like, you can basically kill characters at that point, right? If they got any amount of damage on them. So yeah, just his humble old basic Ki Blast turned from just another one of those into a legitimate threat. So on this angle alone, let alone all the other changes he got, this is one of the things that gives Blue Vegeta a whole new lease on life, in my opinion. So that's some of my thoughts on the matter. I just think you have a whole new way you want to play the character. The character's obviously a lot better now, and he has a playstyle that's not really represented too well now in Dragon Ball FighterZ, because you know, zoning in this game is not really a thing, and you're not going to win purely by zoning, but hey, it's something now. You can really go crazy and really go ham with this, and he has a lot of options and a lot of tools to back it up with. Goichi thinks I'm on to something, I guess, right? Hey, you liked my tweets, so there you go. You gotta do what Goichi says, right? I don't know, whatever. But yeah, anyways, my friends, that's the end of this video. So thank you very much for watching. Hope this video found you well. Go out and play some Dragon Ball.